I just speak my peace, keep my peace.
What's good, y'all? Welcome to episode 109 of the Speak My Peace podcast. As always, I'm your gracious host, Greg Lacey. Like we always do about the time, I hope this episode reaches you all in good health as you're taking care of yourself and your loved ones, as we know how vital that is today. If this is your first time listening to the Speak My Peace podcast, welcome. This is not welcome back. I appreciate you all tuning in, whatever medium you decide to listen or view on. You are greatly appreciated. Hopefully, I'm able to retain and regain your listenership. To start off this episode, I'm going to paint a picture for you all. I like to revert all my examples back to basketball and sports, because I feel like sports and music, for the most part, makes up for most of my life. And so it's easy for me to relate. I know sports is like a common thing where people relate to. So for this example, I'm going to put myself in the shoes of a high school basketball player. We're in a state championship. My team is up by 1. My team is up by 1. There's maybe 6 seconds to go. My team is on defense. Mind you, again, the state championship. Now, leading up into this game, I had studied the other team, so I know habits, I know routines, I know weaknesses and different things like this. So I'm in the corner, I'm guarding one of the best shooters in the state, preventing the ball getting to him, shooting a three-pointer, and ending the game. Obviously, at this point, anything can end the game. Any basket can end the game because we're up by 1. However, in doing my research and, game planning, I realized the habits of the point guard. And the point guard is not one of the best point guards in the States. But he has certain habits, he has certain routines when he want to get the ball to the best shooter in the state. So as I'm in the corner, I noticed the point guard getting ready to do a move that I watched on the tapes him do 1,000 times over and over. And then watching him do this move over and over, I realized that he stumbles when he comes out of a certain spin move. And because of that stumble, that's a perfect opportunity for a defender to go in and launch and steal the ball. Now, in this case, stealing the ball steals a game. My team wins by 1, and that's the end of the game. We win the state championship. Me noticing this and me having this information, I'm thinking about gambling. Because for 1, I want the game to end, but 2, I don't want this move to be successful and for him to get open and shoot a two-pointer. Again, at this point, either bucket wins, whether it's a two-pointer from him or it's a three-pointer from the person in the corner. And so in my mind, I'm thinking about gambling. The gamble is I step up to launch at that ball as he does a spin. And if the spin is successful, he has an open man in the corner, someone who hits his shot with his eyes closed. The other side of that gamble is I've done my research and I've seen this happen 1,000 times to where he stumbles, and if I time it perfectly, I steal the ball and steal a game. So that's the gamble. It's either I steal a game or they win a game. Me having this information, I don't decide to leave my man. I decide to stay with my man and have faith in my teammate. And so the person goes into the move, and what the point guard is expecting that when he goes to the move, once he gets out, that I leave and this person in the corner is wide open. I stay with my man. He doesn't have anyone to pass it to. He puts up a bad shot, and that's the end of the game. We win a state championship. The reason why I painted you all the picture is because this episode is going to be about his discipline. And that self-control of me not gambling, me not leaving a person I was guarding in the corner, is discipline. It's me understanding that the risk and the reward of gambling is so crucial in this pivotal moment that it's better to just wait it out and have faith in these people that I've been training with for how many weeks, how many years, whatever the case it may be during this time. The discipline in that situation is me knowing that if one small thing goes wrong on my end, everything goes haywire. And so for the greater good, I don't sacrifice. And instead, I equip my teammate with the knowledge and tell him what's happening and help him better defend what's about to happen. I start off this episode with that example, painting you all this picture of discipline, because as this episode releases on the eve of the day that Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier, I feel like this is a perfect time to talk about discipline. I had a lot of conversations following episode 98 just about the different things that I mentioned that I've changed and different things that I'm trying out as a part of, me introducing myself to new lifestyles or trying out new lifestyle and having these new lifestyle changes and things like that. And I've been waiting for the perfect time to really just have an episode just detailing all those things and how I'm able to do it and how I'm able to go through it. Because people ask me about, just my discipline and different things like that a lot. And I feel like this platform that I have, this platform that I created, what better place to go in detail about those things. Going back to Jackie Robinson, one of my personal favorite heroes, his legacy exemplifies discipline. Like, Jackie Robinson's life is a story within itself, not just his baseball career, not his accomplishments within the diamond. What Jackie Robinson went through to get to where he got, and I'm not even just talking about him being a baseball player, I'm talking about him growing up and him going through life prior to him figuring out that he wanted to be a baseball player. That story within itself is a story. The story of when he finally reached the major leagues and then the first person to break the color barrier and open the door for many other people to come after him. That is a story. The philanthropic career and endeavors that he had after his retirement from Major League Baseball, that in itself is a story. Jackie Robinson is my hero for many different reasons. I think the courage he exemplified in his life. I think the risk that he took in his life. I think the roads that he paved for people in his life. And then just him just being a multi-sport athlete and me growing up and being an athlete. And then also knowing that this man is from not the same neighborhood, but the same city. Internally here, locally in LA, most people from different neighborhoods of LA don't specifically claim LA, but I mean, worldwide, we go other places. A lot of people don't know these pockets within LA, so the majority of us claim LA. So on a more worldwide lens, me and Jackie Robinson is from the same city. We represent the same place, Los Angeles. So that within itself is a great inspiration. But the reason why I feel like this tied into the discipline is just now that we getting back into his career and everything he's accomplished, Jackie Robinson is one of the best to ever do it. One of the best the game has ever seen. And that speaks volumes to who he is as a man, but it also speaks volume to his character. Think about just the time that he was in. He broke the color barrier in 1947. Racism is still high. Segregation is still high. Bigotry is very high. And so like these actions that are being carried out against blacks because of the color of their skins, they are like I want to say they're at their peak, but they're happening, and like you have to deal with it. And this man stepped into a career field to where he is putting himself on Front Street every single game, meaning that at that time, Major League Baseball, obviously he's the first black person in the league. There's probably more than 100 athletes in it, but let's say there was 100 athletes in the Major League Baseball. That means there was 99 white people and it was just this one black man, and they're traveling city to city to play against each other. And he's stepping into these stadiums with hundreds of thousands of people, not hundreds of thousands, but thousands of people who don't look like him, who's rooting against him, who is rooting for his failure, who are throwing things at him, who are saying racial epithets towards him, sending threatening letters to him, addressing threatening letters to him and his family in the midst of the games and things like that. This man dealt with all this, and despite all that, he had a great career. He's one of the best to ever do it. April 15th every year, every Major League Baseball player wears his number 42. And it's not just because he broke the color barrier, it's because he broke the color barrier. He did it in a professional fashion, and he was great at what he did. You know how much discipline you have to deal with those things night in and night out and still perform at your best? It's not easy. There are people who don't deal with those things and are dealing with just like personal things. Let's say at home, maybe you're having a fallout with your mother. Let's say you're having a fallout with your spouse. You had an argument with your friend. Let's say you caught a flat tire on your way to the arena. There are so many things that people deal with today. First world problems, yeah, of course, but it's like so many things that people deal with today that can really throw you off track. And it could just be like out of, let's say, NBA season, out of 82 games, it may just be that one game that thing happened, and that may mess you up for multiple games. This man was going into these arenas every single game dealing with this, dealing with the racist fans, dealing with the racist owners, dealing with the racist coaches, dealing with the racist opposing teams. And he still performed his best every single night. I don't know what better way to showcase discipline for you all than his career. For him to endure all those things and not go haywire. And I think that if he did, if Jackie Robinson's career would have ended his rookie year because, let's say, he may have got into a fight or he reacted to something wrongly or whatever the case may be, if Jackie Robinson's career was cut short because he responded to something, he would have been within his rights to do so. And I don't think anyone would have been mad at him. I think most people would have understood, like, yeah, if I had to deal with that night in and night out, people sending threatening letters to me and calling my home with threats, and I'm dealing with these things personally. I'm dealing with these things in the public as well as I'm traveling to these cities and different things like that. I think anyone would have lost their cool. So for this man, I'm pretty sure he lost his cool, but we never seen it displayed, or we haven't heard the stories of these things displayed. He kept those things internally and dealt with them privately and still went on and performed at the highest level that he could. And because of that, I get to record this episode wearing his jersey. Because of that, we get to watch baseball tomorrow and see every single athlete wearing his jersey. It's amazing how far discipline can take you. And I feel like I've gone so far within this episode and I really haven't given you all the textbook definition of discipline. I gave you all that picture, and then I gave you all that visual picture, and then I gave you all this example of Jackie Robinson. But what I found discipline to be, from Merriam-Webster, is described as self-control. And it's as simple as that, self-control. I know discipline has a lot of negative connotation towards it, because you think of discipline, you think of disciplinary actions, you think of people being punished. Also, discipline has like something to do with like religious beliefs, I believe, as well. I think as well as professional career or professional studies, whatever the case may be. But for the most part, you think about discipline, you think of like an adverse action or a reaction to something. Because of that, it has a negative connotation. But in this instance, we speak about discipline from the positive standpoint, from the point of you building your mind to be as strong as possible, from you understanding that things get greater later, meaning that there are risks you can take going down certain routes in your life, in many different aspects of your life, but there's also sacrifices you can take, and taking a long road and taking the road less traveled. And there's power in that, traveling the road less traveled. A lot of people ask me many things that I do in my life. Like, I've displayed discipline in so many different instances that people are just curious on how I do it. And the reason why I'm able to do it and continue to do it is because, like, I started at a very young age and I saw something through. And now my mind is so strong that I literally know that it's willpower. It's me talking to myself and telling myself that you can do this. You've done something similar to this before. So my journey with me in discipline, it started really with me being 13 to 14 years old, my freshman year. I remember my freshman year, my brother was a senior. And I think my brother around that time, he had stopped drinking soda because it was like contributing, or from the conversations I had with him, this is sugar, the carbonated sugar was contributing to his acne. Now, me being that young, obviously I'm a freshman in high school, acne is like common. That's around the time where people have really bad acne breakouts. Me, I never really had bad acne, but I used to always have a lot of bumps on my head. I know now, 15 years later, that it wasn't actually acne. It was, I get heat bumps from when I wear hats. That's why I like a couple episodes when I had longer hair, when my hair wasn't done, I wear hats. But like for the most part in public, I try not to wear hats because I recognize that now. But I can put on a hat for 10 minutes and take that hat off, and in 5 minutes I have a bunch of bumps on my head. And it's unfortunate, but that is what it is. Getting back to the story though. So I thought that those bumps that I had on my head was from acne. So my brother cut out drinking soda to improve his skin. I was like, okay, well, let me try the same thing, because whatever I'm doing is not really clearing up my face. And so as a freshman, I stopped drinking soda. Think about just the age I was at, me being a teenager, me being 13, 14 years old. Like every meal that I had, unless I was in practice, it was soda. And so like I was used to that. Like this was a routine. Like this is becoming part of my life, to where like soda was something that I had relied on. And I think initially that I didn't know exactly the time that I was going to do it, but I had done it for so long. At a certain point, I realized that I just didn't need it no more. My skin got a little bit clearer, and the only reason for that was because I started getting more hats. And so like those hats was clean, and so like the bumps on my head wasn't coming as frequently. Again, I'm 14, 13 years old. I didn't realize that that's where my messed up skin was coming from, but I had believed it to have been acne. So I contributed that to me not drinking soda. The discipline in that is telling myself that, like, you know, this is something that you're insecure about. This is something that you're worried about. This is something you're having troubles with. If you truly want to improve this, if this is something that you truly want to do, you'll see within a short amount of time how this has changed when you cut that out. And so because of that, I went alone for the rest of the year without drinking soda. And the year turned into another year, and the year turned into another year. And here I am 15 years later. Like I can count on one hand how many times I've drunk soda in my life. Maybe not one hand, maybe a hand and a finger. I think it's like 6 times. But in 15 years, I can count how many times, what specific events, and the reasons why I drank soda. 2 of those times was because I was like tired doing a long drive, and I was trying to do it to like keep myself awake. But like those other times, it was literally just like me taking a sip. And each time, of those other times, it was never just me indulging in drinking a full can or drinking a full bottle, wherever the case may be, of soda. It was literally just me taking a sip of soda, getting a sip. It was nothing else to drink, whatever the case may be. Now, during this time that I stopped drinking soda, I started relying on water more. And so if you know me personally, you know that like for the most part, I'm always walking around with a water bottle. Water is my go-to drink on the weekends. I drink some lemonade or I drink some juice, but during the week, I really only drink water. May drink a sports drink during a workout. But other than that, it's like I won't drink anything else. And that has become because I've become so less reliable upon soda. And that was really my journey with discipline. I didn't know exactly what I was going to get out of removing that from my diet, something I had been so reliant upon all my years. But I just had to tell myself, like, if this is something that you really want, you have to be dedicated to it. And you're not going to make a change by dipping your toes in the water and that's it. Like, you got to get fully immersed in what you want to do. And so that was my first time in really waking myself up and knowing that it's a mind thing. As long as my mind is strong-willed, as long as I tell myself I can do something and put my mind to something, I can do it. So that was really it wasn't my first experience with discipline, but it was my first time realizing that, like, I can cut stuff out of my life, and it literally just takes a strong mental to do so. The next example came after that was running. People ask me all the time, like, how do you run, blah blah blah, and it's like, the reason why people ask me that question is because I understand that running is not something that's like enjoyable. Running is not something that people do. It's not something that I enjoy. I'm telling you all straight up. Like, I run a lot. People know me personally, know I run a lot. I run 4 or 5 times a week. But it's not something I enjoy. But at this age that I am, I understood at a very young age that I was going to get to this age in the physical form that I am currently in, and I'm in great physical form right now. But I wasn't going to get to this age in this physical form that I'm currently in if I didn't dedicate myself to running. And that comes with discipline. Like, I had to create a routine of, okay, we waking up at 6 o'clock, wake up at 6 o'clock, go run. When my schedule started getting interfered with school, when my schedule started getting interfering with work, I had to still implement it. Okay, if I had to wake up at work this day at 8 o'clock, then maybe I wake up to run way earlier. And the reason why I was implementing it that way is because I don't really like to run later in the day. I don't really like to run in the evenings. Is because like my body gets lazier then. Like, I'm a morning person. Not a morning person meaning like I'm waking up and I'm all chipper and I'm happy, but I like to get things done in the morning. I feel like my mind in the morning is really at its peak as far as like creativity, as far as like production, as far as me trying to get things done physically, whether that's working out, whether that's running, even if I have to play basketball. I feel like in the morning, that is when I'm at my best, because many other people dread that time. And so now I'm taking advantage of what other people dread, and it's making me a better person and having an advantage over them, and I'm using it to my will. Getting to the discipline aspect of it is, I had to instill in my head that like, if you don't do this frequently, you're not going to get the results you want to see. If you don't do this at all, you're definitely not going to get the results you need to see. So you need to implement a routine. And my routine was waking up at a certain time for a certain amount of days. I wasn't going to do it every day, because I think if I did it every day, I burnt myself out. If I did it 6 times a week and just took off one day, I think I would have burnt myself out. So I told myself 4 or 5 days a week, preferably 4. But if I feel like 5, I can do 5. But the reasoning behind that was, if I do 4 days a week, I have a break within my week, if that's a work week or school week. And then on the weekends, I decide whether or not I want to take the weekends off, or I want to do it at least one of those days. One of those days was usually Saturday. That way I have a Sunday rest and then get back to it on Monday. So typically what I would do is run Mondays and Tuesdays mornings, rest on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Saturday is optional, rest on Sunday, and do it all over again. So I was implementing breaks so I wasn't driving my mind crazy. But that was the discipline of it. It was telling myself that like, you want something, and in order for you to get to where you need to go, you have to do this. Like, there's no way around it. And a lot of people my age are not in great shape that I am. I'm not saying this to big myself up and make myself seem better than people, but like, a lot of people I went to high school with are just not physically in the shape that I am in. And that's because like, their life has succumbed to no physical routines, or not consistently, at least. And for me, from high school until now, no one can tell you that they've ever seen me go more than a week without me having some physical activity, whether that's me running, whether that's me working out, whether that's me playing basketball, whatever the case it may be. I've always been the type of person to understand that I had to remain physically active if I wanted what I wanted. And my end goal on all this has always been, eventually I'm going to have kids. And when I have kids, I want to be as active in their lives as possible. And there's no way for me to achieve that by being lazy. And so that was the end goal. That was the sacrifice. It was like, either I be content with just being lazy, or I strive for something and I push towards that. And that's what I'm pushing to. I'm pushing to, at this point, whenever I have kids, I want to be as active in their life as possible. When they start playing sports, I want to be able to help them and train them. Even if they don't play sports, doing things on the weekends, going on hikes, going on walks, whatever the case may be, going on bike rides. Like, these are things that I want, because my life, those are things that make me happy, being active, being in the outdoors, and different things like that. And so that was what the sacrifice was worth for. It was like, I'm going to push my body to the limit to make sure that my body is always going to be in tip-top shape, as long as I have a body, as long as I have an able body, I should say. And so that was another instance. It was like, okay, now you're really, getting a hold of this discipline stuff. You're putting in your mind that you want a certain thing, and you're seeing the end goal of you staying dedicated to that goal. No, you're not seeing the end goal. You're seeing the results of you staying dedicated to that end goal, is what I meant to say. Another example, alcohol. I stopped drinking, really, I feel like at the peak of my drinking. Like, and by peak, I mean, I stopped drinking at 23. So at that time, at 23 years old, like, I had been drinking heavily for about 3 or 4 years now. Because I was going out and drinking and going to parties and things with friends since I was like 19. And then obviously I turned 21 and I was legal to drink. So now I'm buying my beverages myself and going out and able to legally get in clubs and things like that myself. So now my drinking has increased because I'm able to do so legally. We don't have to be covert about it. And so now, as the years continue to go on, I'm indulging more and more in it. And it had gotten to a point, like, I wouldn't call myself an alcoholic, but I just enjoyed drinking way too much. And what really made me stop drinking, it was multiple things that made me stop drinking. But the event that made me stop drinking was literally, I had gotten to a point where I was having to drink with every meal that I was having. I remember one week in 2016, I was to go visit my friend for a week. I had just finished a semester of college. I was like, okay, I need to go somewhere. So I flew down to Atlanta. So I spent like a couple of days in Atlanta. Then I spent the rest of the week in Florida. Throughout that entire time, I drunk every single week. Like, meaning I drunk when we was going out, when we were just chilling in the house, I was drinking. And when I got back home, I started to realize, like, either I have to moderate my consumption or I just have to cut this out altogether, because now it's starting to interfere with those physical goals I have set for myself. My main thing against drinking is, like, it's poison. Now that, like, I'm away from it, now that, like, I'm not reliable upon it, and now that I'm not doing it so heavily, I started to realize, like, bro, nothing you put in your body should make you feel the way drinking makes you feel when you consume too much of drinking. Like, again, I drink maybe 64, probably almost 80 ounces of water a day. It doesn't make me feel any way. It doesn't make me feel like my body is deteriorating. On the weekends, I drink lemonade, I drink juice. Despite that having sugar, I still don't feel that way. I may feel a little sluggish because of so much sugar, and I don't drink so much sugar, but my body is not feeling the way that alcohol makes me feel. And so I really just had to talk to myself like, bro, nothing that you indulge in should make you feel this way. And you shouldn't be okay with making yourself feel this way as far as your body, especially if you're like the bane of your existence is making sure that you're in top physical shape. This is not going to help you. Now, granted, there are some people out there who indulge in a lot of liquor and their bodies are in top physical shape, and that's great for them. I just wasn't one of them. Like, I saw my body, I saw my mile times, my mile splits decreasing. I saw my body really not looking like how I wanted my body to look, and it was multiple factors and different things that I just was not happy about. Another reason why I decided to stop drinking is when I got back from Florida, I wanted to get back into running track. At that point, my training that I was doing personally had gotten to a point where I was like, okay, I'm feeling good about myself. I'm feeling like how I felt when I was in high school. Even if my times are not resembling what I was doing in high school, is damn near close for someone who has not competed in 4 or 5 years. And so I started to tell myself like, okay, maybe I should go out for the track team at the community college I was at the time. So like the number one thing I had to do, if that's what I'm going to do, is get rid of this liquor, because there's no way my body is going to perform in tip top shape with me still indulging in it and that much. Third reason that I decided to stop drinking, I just wasn't happy who I was as a drunk person. Like I enjoy drinking, enjoy hanging out with friends, enjoy having a good time, but it was just like so many of my actions that I was doing during those times when I was drinking and having a good time, it was just like, bro, like, what are you doing? Granted, I was young and stupid, but that's not an excuse for anything. But it was just like different things that I've done during those times. It was immature. Be quite frank with you all. And the last reason, the most important reason, it is in Black communities, like alcoholism is a thing. People don't talk about it. I spoke about it in previous episodes here, in very early episodes, but like alcoholism is a real thing. And Black folks, for whatever reason, won't address it. In my family, there's a lot of alcoholics. There's a lot of functioning alcoholics, and the conversation of not drinking alcohol does not happen a lot. And so it's just like a continuous cycle of, we grow up, we have a good times, we indulge in drinking alcohol, and it's passed down. And it's not really passed down, but it's like younger people see people who we look up to doing these things. And so now we want to do these things because those people we look up to are cool to us. And so we pick up those same habits, and we don't really realize the negative effects behind picking up those same habits. We don't realize that alcohol is tearing apart so many Black families. We don't realize that alcohol is tearing apart so many Black bodies. We don't realize that the mechanisms and the reason why alcohol and the reason why liquor stores and in so many different neighborhoods just continue to tear down our communities. We don't realize those things. And so after I removed myself from, I didn't really have this realization when I first started drinking, but after I removed myself from drinking and just not being reliant upon alcohol anymore, I started to see this and I realized like this conversation about alcoholism does not happen. And again, going back into me eventually wanting to have kids, the last thing I ever want to do is bring an innocent mind into this world and introduce them to that. Especially with me not being happy about it, especially with me feeling some type of way about it, I would be kind of ignorant to introduce an innocent mind to that type of habit so that they can pick it up and carry it on and pass it down to their children, and pass it on to their friends, pass it on to their nieces and nephews. It's just something that my conscience wouldn't let me continue to carry on. And the discipline within that is, again, seeing a bigger picture. Like, yeah, drinking is fun. I get a kick out of drinking. I get a kick out of being drunk. I get a kick out of hanging out with friends and being in parties. Like, really, the only time you'll catch me dancing is if I'm drunk. I get a kick out of being sociable. The only time you really catch me being sociable, unless I'm like around people that I know, is when I'm drunk. And so I enjoy those aspects of it. And so this is us going from that first example that I gave you all about just me deciding, like, if I go for the steal, I can either steal a game or it can be a bad decision. And that's what this example is. It's like, I can continue to have fun, but at what expense? Because if I continue to indulge in as much as I'm indulging in it, what negative effect is it having on me? What negative effect will it have on my family? What negative effect will it have on the people around me? And is it worth it? And so in this instance, again, I chose to sit in that corner and stay with the best shooter in the world, because I realized that I have goals for myself. I have generational curses I want to break. I have an idea of the family I want to create. And I know what I don't want to introduce to that. And I know what this can do to that. And so in this instance, I decided to sit in that corner and stay in that corner with the best shooter in the world, because me cutting it out at such a young age was greater than me continuing to enjoy it at a young age and becoming more reliant upon it and risking it having a negative effect on my life. I told myself that it just wasn't worth it. Now, the first 3 years I quit drinking, I just quit drinking just cold turkey. Like, would not touch an alcoholic beverage, whatever the case may be. How many years? It's been 6 years now. Now I drink on my birthday. So that's literally like, when I first started drinking, the first drink I had was like after 3 years. I went on vacation. As I detail in this episode or detail in this podcast, I always go like on a week-long vacations for my birthday. So I went on a vacation in 2018. I went on vacation in 2018 and I was drinking that week. Did the same, and that was great because I haven't been drinking for so long that once I finally started drinking, it was like, oh wow, like this is what I miss. Like this is fun. Like this feeling is great. Got drunk, was drunk that entire week. The next year I did the same thing. So I started to make a habit. I was like, okay, now I'm only going to drink on my birthday week since I travel. I don't have any responsibilities. I'm not really around people. It's just me and whoever I'm traveling with. And so the next year I did the same thing. It wasn't as great as it was the previous year, but it was okay. But I was chasing that feeling and I felt that first year. Third year came around, the year before last, and no, third year had to be last year. The first year was 2018. Yeah, third year was last year. Went on vacation and got drunk, and it was like, this is just not it. Like I was still chasing that high from that first time that I drunk again, and I just wasn't getting it. And how my body was feeling, it was just like, it's not worth it. Like I can cut this out of my life completely now because I'm never going to get that feeling back. But also it just doesn't, like, this doesn't feel fun. And I'm the type of person, I don't know why, but I don't really have hangovers like that. So it wasn't the hangovers. It was just really just me, my conscience in a moment and realizing like, this ain't for you, dog. Like as much as you wanted to do this and as much as you look forward to this week every year, this is just like not for your body. And so this year, again, I went on vacation and I didn't get drunk, but I had a couple drinks. Went out to a couple dinners, had a couple drinks, and that was it. I wasn't drinking to get drunk. I was just drinking to have an alcoholic beverage. And so now that's where I'm at my point in my life to where it's just like, I have control over this relationship with this toxin. I know that if I never wanted to do it again, I'm able to do so. But I also know that if I just want to have a drink, I can have a drink and I set my limits and that's that. Like I'm never going to do too much. I'm never going to let it have control over me ever again. And I'm glad that I had that control. But that's the discipline. The discipline is having that self-control and telling myself that I don't have to do it if I don't want to. And if I do, I know the moderations and I know the limits that I have for myself and I can set for myself. And I don't have any quarrels about breaking those limits that I set for myself, because that's not even a desire of mine anymore. I'm just doing it to do it. And that's the beauty about discipline. That's the reason why I'm able to start off this year and changing my eating habits and going vegan, because I've done it. I've exemplified this discipline so many other times in my life that I know what I'm capable of. And I know it's all mental. It's all me talking to myself and telling yourself, you can do this. And that's probably the most important factor in discipline, is having a strong mental. If you don't have a strong mental, the best part in building that self up or building that mental up is confidence in yourself. Like going back into running, the reason why I'm able to run and the reason why I'm able to like thrive, to push myself to get better at running, is I talk to myself. Like a lot of people ask me, how do you run for so long? Why do you do this? I literally talk to myself the entire run. I see certain points if I'm running on a road. I see certain points down a road, or there's a stop sign half a mile away. Let's just get to that stop sign. Once I get to that stop sign, oh, there's a stoplight a mile away. Let's just get to that stoplight. Get to that stoplight. Oh, now we're a mile and a half away from the house. You only want to run 3 miles? Let's run back to the house. See that stoplight again? Let's just get to that stoplight. See that stop sign again? Let's just get to that stop sign. By the time I get to the stop sign, I was like, oh, nigga, you here. You almost home. push yourself through. That's literally what pushes me in every aspect of my life, is talking to myself, building up my confidence and letting myself know that I can do these things. And it's all within my mental. Discipline is so important in so many different aspects of life, and in professional careers, definitely in relationships, in lifestyles, probably in financial management. Discipline is like the key factor in a lot of those things. You're not allowing outside detractors come in and ruin those relationships you have with those things or those persons. And that's why I say it's all mental, because it's self-control. You can't exemplify self-control if you don't have confidence in yourself. If you don't have confidence in yourself, you're going to allow yourself to do whatever and just go through the motions, because who cares? And so before we get out of here, I'm going to leave you all with one of my favorite quotes ever from one of my heroes, Jackie Robinson. And the quote is, "A life is not important except the impact they have on other lives." For someone who, for me right now, as I'm recording this episode, is a poster child for discipline, that resonates and that sticks with me. Because if that man didn't have discipline, I wouldn't be sitting here wearing his jersey. That man didn't have discipline, I wouldn't be sitting here recording this episode. And that's the impact that he had on other lives. Is that I'm inspired by his journey and I'm inspired by his life. And so as we get out of here, man, I just want to tell y'all, just be confident in yourself. Have faith in yourself. Talk to yourself if you have to. Talk to someone else that may pour that confidence into you. But find that confidence. And always remember, like, whatever you want to do in this life, man, you can do it. It's all about just starting. And once you start, build a routine, set a time frame, wherever the case may be, to carry that through for that amount of time, and you'll be all right. That's the Speak My Peace podcast for this week, y'all. Before we get out of here, my what to watch for this week, we're going to go with Top Boy Season 2 on Netflix. Once again, my what to watch for this week is Top Boy Season 2 on Netflix. That's the Speak My Peace podcast for this week. I'm out.